As most of you know, I've been making transitions from street photography to more commercialized photography, such as art galleries and corporate events. Recently, however, I've been able to partake in weddings, specifically as a second shooter and a behind the scenes shooter for a wedding planner during an actual wedding. I never thought I'd reach that upper level of commercial photography, but all it took was 2 weddings for me to fall in love with the process. Along the way, there are a few things I've learned from being in that niche that I'd like to share with you if you're also considering or starting out in wedding photography. So good to be seen, and it's even better to see what's going on. Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be sharing what I believe to be the top 5 most important tips for aspiring wedding photographers like myself. I highly encourage you to take these to heart, as they will be a foundation on which to begin the wedding photography journey. So without further ado, in no particular order, here we go. Lesson number 1 is do an internship. Whenever I thought about diving into wedding photography, I asked myself just how I could go about shooting one. I don't have an experience within that niche and certainly no portfolio with which to cater to people, so I figured that the best thing to do would be to create the own opportunity myself. So what I did, I reached out to Noel del Pilar, one of Puerto Rico's most tenured destination wedding photographers, and told him that I'd like to check and shoot for him for free in exchange for a few pictures that I could use for my website. Obviously, he jumped all over the offer and accepted. Immediately, I became ecstatic knowing that I opened a window to what eventually could be a wide open door. I had absolutely the time of my life. Everything went smooth as ever, according to plan, and I'm now going to share some pictures that I took using his 5D Mark IV, which was kind of trippy. I hadn't held a DSLR in so long, and I still have blisters to prove it. What I'm saying is that if you're starting out, be content with exchanging money for experience. You're not going to be making much as a second shooter because you literally have never shot a wedding, so it's not like a veteran is going to think much of you, if I'm being honest. Therefore, you might as well take advantage of that hunger and soak in as much information and knowledge as you can. Lesson number 2 is gear does matter. We've all heard the old adage that gear doesn't matter, and to a certain extent, it doesn't. But when it comes to shooting a wedding, there are a ton of shots that you do not want to miss. Prior to owning the lenses that I own now, I shot everything with primes. Primes, as you know, are not as versatile as zooms, which is why I invested in the RF 24-70, which is recording right now, and of course the 70-200, both f2.8s. I wholeheartedly believe that you can shoot an entire wedding with just these 2 lenses strapped to your harness all day and not just get away with it, but deliver wonderful pictures to your clients. Granted, I don't think you'll want to, because a prime lens is a dream to shoot with, especially on a wedding day, but most people will agree that just these 2 lenses will put you in a position to succeed. The reason why I went with zooms over primes for my first paid gigs is because I couldn't afford to leave the scene I was into to go into my bag and switch lenses. I was too afraid that I'd come back and the bride and the groom moved on to the next spot. I'm sure that by now you're thinking, Francis, you could have 2 primes on each one of your bodies, and you'd be correct, but for the purpose of someone starting out, it's probably easier to go with a fast zoom and get that practice in. Lesson number 3 is be a follower and not a leader. As a continuation of lesson number 1, I think that taking the back seat and just learning from a first shooter is the absolute best thing you can do. This is important because what you know about cameras pales in comparison to how you're going to shoot it during a wedding ceremony. You might know the relationship between aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, but you know nothing about shot lists, entrances, where to stand when the best man is talking, how to shoot the bride when she's coming down the aisle, how to pose friends and family members for group photos, and how to light the dance floor during the final stages. Whenever I was done with an assignment from Noel, I would take a breather and just watch him do his thing from afar. I would try to figure out why he was shooting there his angles, his overall lighting, and his overall preparation for taking the pictures he was taking. Noel would tell me what's coming next and would advise me on what to do when the time came. This is the time to be a sponge and not a loudspeaker. Shut your mouth, open your ears, and learn from the best in your neck of the woods. Lesson number 4 is weddings are stressful. I know that these points are not in order of importance, but this lesson to me carries the most weight. Wedding photography is a stressful business. Just think about this for a second. You have one chance to commemorate someone's pinnacle of life, which in most cases comes only once. Brides and grooms are literally putting their memories in your hands and trusting you to deliver the elements they're going to treasure forever. Add to that the fact that planners are going to pull you aside, the entourage is going to get in the way, and you might not even have a chance to eat, etc. If that alone doesn't get you motivated and prepared for the occasion, then I don't know what will. As a result, it is in the best interest of everyone involved to put yourself in a position to succeed. Invest in the best gear that you can afford. Follow the best wedding shooters on YouTube. Purchase ebooks on business and marketing, and essentially do everything in your power to minimize stress during wedding days. As one of my favorite football players says, the separation is in the preparation. If you come prepared, it breeds confidence and you'll feel a lot better for where you're standing when the big day arrives. Last but not least, lesson number 5 is work your butt off. Out of all of the niches within our photography industry, I think that wedding photography is one of, if not the most lucrative within the business. This means that it's going to require a lot of work to make a lot of money. If you're walking into wedding photography thinking that your knowledge of cameras alone is enough to get you by, then I'm sorry to say, you're sorely mistaken. If I learned anything about shooting a wedding, it's that it is going to drain you from the moment that you get that first interest email to the very end where you finally deliver on your pictures. Let's face facts. No other event has you on your feet an average of 8 hours, walking left to right and sometimes up and down. Before that's even done, you have to cater to the audiences and learn what they're looking for so that you, as a wedding photographer, become attractive in their eyes. After the shooting is done, then it's back to your computer for hours on end to edit in Lightroom until you cry tears of blood. If you're genuinely interested in wedding photography, just know that it's going to take the best of what you have to offer, and it's not for the faint of heart. If you want to be successful in the eyes of brides and grooms, then you have to be willing to put in the work, and there's no question about that. So my question to you is, what are some of the lessons that I may have left out? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you got some value out of this video, then stick that thumb you know where, and if this is the first time we're meeting, I'd love to hang out again. My name is Francis, and I'll see you in the next one.